That is why argument is better than opening government, and I believe that democracy is benefited by having less division internally and having a conversation that most average people are part of and their issues are represented. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, Jasper. And to wrap up the debate, Claire.
Jack, you're muted.
Claire, can anyone else hear Claire?
No.
No.
You might want to leave the Zoom and then come back. That might work. It probably won't work, but we'll see.
Good work so far.
Fuck yeah. Opposition, obviously, up for the win. You know what I mean?
I don't know, you're like, no political policies getting through. I'm like, do we like political policies? Like...
Yeah, I guess if that's your opinion, I'm just losing. You're a biased judge here.
Okay, Claire's coming back in. No, Claire, can you check bottom left corner next to the microphone symbol? There's a little up arrow. Can you check when you click that up arrow whether under select a microphone is selected?
Oh. Huh. Gosh.
You're on mute at the moment. So you want to unmute it and then click the arrow.
Microphone is wrong.
And now, Olga, you're on a computer, yeah?
This worked fine earlier, I swear.
Yeah. Do you have a phone that you can connect on, Claire? Turn it off.
What did you turn?
What did I turn off?
I have no idea.
Try connecting on the phone. Your microphone's on my end. Like, you're not muted. I think it's just not connecting. After Claire speaks, Rochelle and I will Facebook call to decide the results, and you guys can kind of talk on here.
Okay, cool. Sounds fun.
Which will be a good bonding opportunity. Half of you look excited by that prospect, and half of you look terrified.
People look terrified, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Claire number 2.
Oh.
Yeah, it's connecting to audio.
Oh.
Leave the computer call and then just speak from the phone.
Oh yeah, it's already off on the computer.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, this is good. Oh, yeah, cool. Claire, to wrap up the
Okay.
debate.
Wow, sorry about that. I know he was working before and all week for my class. Anyway. Okay. So I'm gonna conclude this debate by addressing a few rebuttals. Regarding the argument about having less minorities and representation, I don't think that's true since political party provide funding for independent, and when independent candidates have to found everything themselves. So only people with a lot of outcome or network or people who can provide for them could join as independent candidate. When if you join a party, they support you and help you campaigning, so you don't have to deal with that. You can focus on the ideas, and when you want to bring, you don't have to deal with administration and creating everything, campaigning, all everything around the idea, which is the main reason why you join a political party in the first place. And independent candidates have to deal with everything. They have to find the money. And so that's why I don't think it will bring less minority. It will actually only bring people with from upper classes and less representation as well. So that's why I think this point is not what I would use to defend the debate. It will provide funding and engage more people, and therefore be less costly. Regarding another point that was made, since people don't have to pay themselves, they would use the fund from the political party, which are well organized and a structure to help candidates distribute and express ideas and projects. So basically, people want to focus on idea can, like I said, and everything's ready for them. As a second point of rebuttal, I'm not saying that political parties are perfect. A few of you mentioned that sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that we have to get rid of them and ban them. It's the least worst, if I may say, solution. Maybe not the better, but the least worst. It would be a good idea to improve them and maybe make them more accessible sometimes. But individual, as you mentioned before, can be as bad as a political party and spread fake news. And you said they have less power. I remember someone mentioning that before. Less power since the individual to spread fake news and express, fake ideas. But actually, maybe they have less power, but then they have less power to help citizens and voters as well, because they don't have a structure to help them. And I think it's as bad as the previous statements. So the solution would be to reform political party and create new one, not to ban them. At a third point of rebuttal, I would say that actually, I think getting rid of political party maybe will bring different point of views, but individual and political party can all bring that. It's more the number of political party that would matter, not banning them and being joined by individual instead. And as the opposition mentioned as well, it would be a chaotic system. It would be difficult to reach compromise with so many point of view. It wouldn't be stable, and a few governments were unstable. Like you mentioned De Gaulle before about in France about being against political party. That's not true, because the De Gaulle's party is actually one of the strongest one, and it was all about strength, stability, and accountability. Since the one before wasn't working because of so many opinions, so it collapsed. And they
point of information.
Okay.
Yes, De Gaulle had a party which was really influential, but when the most things were done in the French government was actually when De Gaulle had the plein pouvoir, when he was given the full powers, and that actually all political parties were, all like surpassed.
Right, but it's not about political party. It's because the executive, the president, had more power. But it's not about changing the way people were elected. Since now there are so many actually political parties that are inspired from De Gaulle, and he has so many, I would say, like party inspired from his own, even if he's not here anymore. And the voice of the citizen would be, and the candidate would be weaker, since there's so many of them. Despite being independent, having new ideas, they won't be able to reach agreement, and you will create more division, as Oli mentioned before. So at the fourth point of rebuttal, I've heard the importance of identity. I agree, because humankind need to belong. So it's easier to be part of a structure and to rely on a group, not only one person. And if there's independent candidate, they can be more versatile and less accountable, less trust, because the candidate and politician need to be held accountable. It could be we're getting past mistakes, take responsibility for success as well. So I believe that this point is one of the most important, as Oli mentioned before. And as a last point, I want to talk about transparency, that you say less corruption if it's a system based on independent candidate and not political party. I disagree, since like we mentioned before, and one of the most important point was accountability, like Oli mentioned, the transparency of a system when they have a structure, offices, and there's hundreds of people and thousands of people. They have to be held responsible, accountable, so they can't just change their mind and be versatile, and is more stable and trustworthy for voters. There's also more clarity, a clear message for people who don't have time to deal with issues, read the press, or focus on politics because they're working and they have so much to do. It's more accessible to them because they can understand the message and they know who to trust because they've heard the message before. So basically, it's here to keep up with independent candidate. The voters would be confused, and it would be good for democracy to have independent candidates only. And political party, I think, as Oli mentioned before, it's more important for them to be accountable and accessible as well, than just to creating a system that will be chaotic and won't work in the long run. So that was it for me.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Sorry, I can't really see you because I'm on my phone, but I just...
No, thank you. Rochelle and I are going to quickly Facebook call, and then we're going to come back in 2.5 minutes with a result and a bit of feedback. But do some like Zoom mingling, socializing.
Hi guys.
Tension.
How's everyone?
Yeah, I don't see any of you though now.
Sorry, you.
I like your beard.
Thank you, Mika. I've been working on it. Why is that
I tried to, but I didn't work.
It was that or dye my hair, so.
Yeah, better. The beard is a better option.
Yeah, I think
You
so.
need to get the beard as long as your hair on your head.
See,
Possible.
if I got a haircut, it would be now, but like, I'm not gonna do that. Has anyone done it?
Yeah.
Has anyone done a self haircut? I saw the Bojan
I
shape.
dyed my hair, but it just came out so like weak. Like I'm just like one shape than I used to be.
I'm too scared to cut my own hair, honestly.
My hairdresser
I feel like it could so bad.
So I might actually consider that because that is not acceptable.
Your hair looks like it would be easy to cut, Mika.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I'm going to go to a hairdresser for that. And they're opening for tomorrow, so.
Yeah, mine's
Really?
opening Friday, so I'm looking forward to a hairdresser.
Mate, we're fucked in the UK.
Got another 3 weeks minimum, surely.
Yeah, we probably got longer than that.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least you got.
Like, unique look is good, you know. We have unique looks, you know, it's unusual for us.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know. Are you all at home right now? No, who was stuck in Oxford again?
Oxford, my student room, yeah.
Okay.
Jack's in Oxford as well.
Yeah.
Me too. You know, I
Yeah.
get
Is
my
it
haircut
Oxford, like,
with my
desert?
roommates.
I mean, being in
That's
Oxford
why
would be
we've
so
got-
boring right now.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's
Shall I-
I have nothing in my room. It's like boredom.
No offense,
With that, kids.
Hi guys.
Very exciting. It was a very quick unanimous decision. But before I give you that unanimous decision, that was very good, surprisingly good for Zoom. I'm going to give you 3 big points of feedback, just going into future Zoom debates. And then Rochelle might tack onto that, and then we'll give you the results and the reasons why. So I thought it was very good. My first piece of feedback is I think it would have helped, especially at opening half, to have more clarity on what this world would look like and what the alternative looks like. So in particular, things like, firstly, what would be the regulations that might exist on other associations existing or forming? So Jasper gives the example that you might still have like the NRA. Would it be acceptable for there to be strongly ideological associations that still exist? And what impact might that have? Secondly, I think it would have been useful on proposition or on government to point out things like opposition can't really have their cake and eat it too. So Ollie tries to push on you guys that, like, well, we can have independence and political